But let's start the show with the latest news with Kosha Gator. Kosha, thank you so much for your time. Let's start with the terrible state of academia, and it's not just universities, but the indoctrination in primary and secondary schools. The Herald Sun reports students skipping school to attend a national climate rally will have access to a medical certificate signed by professors from two leading Australian universities, which says a major climate health concern is preventing them from being in the classroom. The certificate also says the students are experiencing symptoms of increased anxiety, elevated stress, and feelings of despair. And thus, their doctor recommends they take a sick day to protest for a sick planet. University of Melbourne and Australian National University climate scientists David Carrolley and Nick Abel have signed this mock certificate, which students can download. I mean, really. But the line there about anxiety and stress, that's actually real. These privileged kids living in the most prosperous country at the best possible time in history are actually mentally ill, some of them seeking treatment because of this climate anxiety.
And so many other things. The whole mental illness epidemic is real. And you're right, if you just look at it objectively, these are the last people in human history who probably should be, and yet they are. And of course, nothing helps cure anxiety, despair, and stress than taking a day off school and pretending that you're saving the world, which is what some of them probably think they're doing with this protest. I think there's also a final sort of meta point about the education sector. And when it is something that has been propped up the way it has, where there's fake demand effectively for these degrees or school, and the pipeline kind of continues, they have so many regulatory advantages, we shouldn't be surprised when they flex their muscle a little bit by having these downloadable documents, and we might see more and more of that.
And I'm going to be talking to Rabbi Shmuley later in the program about another student protest, this time for the Palestinian cause, anti-Israeli protest, if you want to call it that, again in Victoria. Surprise, surprise. Now, Kosha, it appears Australians are deeply divided when it comes to the Israel-Hamas war. A new Roy Morgan survey released today shows that 51% believe that Israel should remove its army immediately from Gaza, citing concerns about the disproportionate impact on civilians, the humanitarian crisis, and the high number of civilian casualties, while those against the immediate removal of the Israeli army cite the Hamas still holding innocent hostages and saying that the release must only come with Hamas's defeat, and Israel has a right to defend itself. What do you make of this data? Are you surprised by the percentage who do want Israel to withdraw from Gaza? To me, that's a sign that the Hamas is winning the PR war.
I'm not actually that surprised. On first blush, one would think it's surprising, but we've arrived at this moment, and there's a few layers of things that I think are shaping that. One is the consequence of immigration, and we've talked about this before, that if you have a society now where there are factions or different ethnic enclaves that might be sympathetic to other issues, or they're importing their own allegiances here in this country in a way that is maybe incongruent with what it would have been 30 or 40 years ago, we can't be surprised in a way that those people are making up that 51%. I think the media is shaping the narrative as well in some way, and there is a sympathetic picture being painted on the opposite side. And then I also think as time elapses between that initial atrocious attack that happened in the south of Israel and now, the fog of war dissipates and people do start to ask some of these nuanced questions of, what is the proportionate response? What should Israel be doing? It's happened before. Every time they're attacked unprovoked, and then they defend themselves, as happens again and again. And so in a way, I'm not surprised.
Yes, but I just thought at the start of this conflict where the goal of eliminating Hamas completely, that this wasn't going to be like the previous conflicts, this was going to end Hamas. But that doesn't seem to have resonated with many people, because you are seeing these horrific pictures out of Gaza, and you are having the Israelis held accountable for that rather than Hamas, who's putting their headquarters in hospitals, for example.